Once again, it's blast off time. How's everybody doing? This is part 3 of our 3-stack workshop. And this week, as you well know, we're talking about how to have a teaching model for the implementation of the clarity breakthrough that leads to the confidence breakthrough that leads then to inspired action. And we're using the teaching model of building a successful online business. And we went through this week, we went through each of the first 2 parts of the process of narrowing it down, of learning how to hone it in and how to get it razor sharp, like a magnifying glass burning the newspaper, right? And so we started with, in the first of our 3-part series, we started with the legitimize process, which is the sifting out of all the illegitimate possibilities. Then we moved on to the personalize it process, where we went in depth on what is it that you say that you want to do, where is it that you're trying to get to, and we discovered a specific 3-part process to get in touch with that for us on a personal level, along with where we are right now, as well as, of course, where it is that what we believe or perceive to be stopping us or obstacles standing in the way. Then we went and we started to give a sorting mechanism to the different opportunities, to the different plans, to the different things that you may be considering in the online world. And we broke them down into a simple 3-part process, where we the 3 basic fundamental types of business models that you could be working towards. We also discovered that there's no such thing as a right or a wrong methodology. The thing that we then did is we had the 5-level rows underneath each of the 3 columns that we discussed yesterday, where we broke down and we went into things that are inherent in us. What's our personality given and then what's inherent in our current situation, what we're up against, as well as what we currently want to see achieve and how that evolves in us and what the vision is that we're looking to create. And then we just simply go through in all the different possibilities and we line them up and we make a pick for which of the type of business models, because each type of business model of the 3 have pros and cons, and we went in depth on how they are, what they are, and so on. And then we talked about choosing for where you are right now so that you know which of the 3 plans are going to work best for you, so that you're not trying to build a different plan using a different set of supporting mechanisms that are more in line with a different type of business building framework and idea. And then we left off with picking the top 3 plans in that one category, and then putting those top 3 through your filter of what it is that you want to do, what's the current circumstances, and what resonates most for you, and then just narrowing it down to one frame of reference that you're now going to be executing and putting into action for yourself. So you can take all the different programs that you've purchased over the years, all the different ideas that you've had, everything that's on your computer and on your bookshelves and everything else that's gathering dust, whether it's digital dust or real dust. You can brush it off and see where you want to do. And we're going to apply this framework to make it all happen, right? To make it all go. And there is a universal process. There is a universal framework that you can apply to all of this. And it's pretty exciting because when you start to recognize that and break everything down to the core fundamentals, the core principles that are at work, then all of the mystery surrounding all of the other things and where you get crazy over what's this and what's that and maybe I should do this and you don't give anything enough time necessarily to make that happen. Well, when you have it in a framework like this, and then you know exactly what your vision is and you're working towards, then you can start to break it down. So I'm going to give you we're going to move into the capitalize it phase or step of the process, which is simply first we sift out the problem stuff, then we sort it according to what we personally want, what's ideal for us, and the type of business and what our current circumstances are. And now we're going to go into the leveraging it side of it, which is the leveraging, the capitalizing on it, and actually implementing your game plan so that you can stay the course. And I was preparing for this and going by this whole course and process, which we're going to do. And I hadn't read my quote here that I have here in a long time. And wait, here it is over here. And I want to read it to you because I think it's pretty darn good. And it really sums up everything that we've been doing over the past several weeks and brought us to here. And so, and let's not forget that the foundation of all of this is our buddy, Fred, the flat-headed flea, who gets stuck in that jar and flattens his head and wonders, damn, I wish there was a way out of here. I wish there was something that I could do to get rid of this situation, right? And so what we wind up with is the repetition of the same things again and again and again, but we don't see that Fred is running the show for us because it's become automatic, yeah? So with that, let's start digging into it, and let me just sum up kind of like where we are. I gave you the sum up of this week. Now let's just bring it all together and keeping Fred in mind, right? Clarity comes from the opportunities to say, of knowing what to say no to, right? Clarity comes from knowing what opportunities you should in fact say no to, yeah? And with clarity, then you build up that confidence, which is the raw fuel that you need to get started and grow into the new vision that you now have for yourself through the personalize it phase of the process, right? So we've actually been experiencing this. We've been going through this. If you're playing along at home here with us and you're actually doing these exercises and you're having some fun with it, you will start to feel the clarity as well as your confidence start to grow and go through the process, right? So, and now you have a new vision, a new following for your life. And hang on just one second. Let me see. Now I see why that was a problem. Okay, that shouldn't happen again. Great. All right, now. So you now have it grows into the new vision that you have for your life, and confidence naturally leads you when you're living from your vision and you have confidence and you have the clarity of thought and the focus where you've got the direction and you know where it is that you're going and that you're very clear on the path and you've narrowed it down, narrowed it down. Well, that all leads you to inspired action. Instead of being at the whim of motivated action, that motivated standpoint where you're like, what do I do? Maybe I should listen over here. Maybe I should do this over there, and so on and so forth. And inspired action is what gives you the focus necessary to complete your vision without compromising yourself, your vision, your values, your ideals, but without having to sacrifice your integrity so that you can enjoy making an impact, making a difference, making that meaningful contribution that you want, and be well paid for doing so. So the two go hand in hand at the same time. This is what we're working on so that we can graduate from motivated action, from motivation-based living into inspiration-based living, which is coming from vision, coming from the spirit, coming from within. And now that's sustained. That keeps you going. That allows you to continue the journey. All right, now we've got a number of things that we can dive into. from here. But I hope that this little quick review of everything that we've been discussing over the past few weeks and in the previous sessions here gives you an idea of how everything builds on top of everything else. But this is all about going into the process of actually being able to live the 3 breakthroughs and be able to experience the elevation of your moods and to graduate through the journey and make that happen instead of just intellectually in like a classroom type setting, learning more stuff or attempting to gather up more information. But this is about a framework so that you can actually, as you pray, move your feet, so that you can learn and do simultaneously, which we've actually been doing. But we've also been taking it in bite-sized chunks. So you notice that we're getting more specific, more and more chunked down, right? And we're getting more and more detailed. Thanks, Troy. Appreciate it, man. We got to connect one day, man, and get the stream share stuff set up so that I can broadcast and share this with your group. But anyway, hey, for those of you that don't know Troy McDonald, you should, and he's got an awesome group called Live Event Marketers. And not only is it a great curation of live events and different types of trainings that are going on in all different subjects, which is great for people like me that want to get the word out. But it's also a great opportunity for you to see, the different events that are going on, and it's all value-based. Troy is very careful to vet the people that he has in there, make sure that they're making meaningful contributions in their content, that it's just not pitch fests and all of that, that it really does add value to people's lives. So there's the little plug for Troy's body of work there, and I highly endorse it and recommend it to everybody else that isn't aware of it. And once again, thank you, Troy. I really appreciate it. All right, so what we've been doing over the past 3 weeks is we've getting honed down further and further and further, tighter and tighter and tighter into from the more general and principle-based and that body of learning that we're going to be able to give you still principle-based frameworks, but they've been very generalized, and that's why they're universal. But now what we've done over the past week or two is we've gone in depth on using the teaching model of building an online business. So we've now are going through the same principles, but we're narrowing it down. Then we went into the actual different types of business models, and now you're being able to customize the framework for your needs. Well, when it comes time to capitalize on your game plan, when it comes time to create the type of success, the type of business build out, regardless of which type of a business model that you're working on online, if you can break down what it takes to build an online business and you know what the core fundamentals are, then you know what everything else fits into one of those core fundamentals. And as you probably are aware, I'm very fond of the law of threes. It just makes sense, and it seems to be a simple process that you can grasp onto. And it just seems to work out. Like if you can't break it down to the core 3 items in any core business model that is making that everything kind of roots back to those core 3, then you haven't broken it down to the fundamentals yet. And so in a online business, there's only 3 primary concepts that you've got to be aware of. And everything else can be sorted into these concepts. And again, it doesn't matter what type of business model, from when we discussed in the sort it phase of the personalize it step of this journey here. You have the ability to, in an online business, there's just 3 things. One is the web-based aspects of your business, the technical aspects, the website, whether it's somebody else's platform like Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, or your own website, whether it's landing pages, whether it's maybe you're doing a Zoom a webinar or something of that nature. That's all the technical stuff. That's all the web-based stuff, the online aspect. So that's and lots of stuff lives within that category. Does that make sense? So, and the second piece is what your traffic strategy is. The traffic driving eyeballs or media, and traffic or media is different than your marketing, which is the third piece of the puzzle. So we've got marketing, we've got your web-based stuff, the technical stuff, the tech stack, and we've got traffic or media, right? And so a lot of people combine media and traffic into marketing, and really it's two separate functions. So there's marketing, and marketing really in the way that I view marketing and what's evolved, and I look forward to digging into this in the future. But I call it, we've graduated into heart share marketing. Everything started off the first phase of development, and it still starts with attention. You've got to be able to get somebody's attention. And then the idea is over time, you convert that attention into mind share, where they're giving you a piece of their mind, and you occupy that mind. So we heard, things about positioning. That was a great book, and it's a great body of work. Now it's elevated, and I'm talking about in this realm of the world, it's heart share marketing. And heart share isn't about capturing somebody else's heart, because you can't do that. You have to be able to be willing to share your own heart, and in turn, if that resonates with other people, then they will in turn give you a share of their heart back, and it strengthens the heart share in both of you, and it builds and deepens the relationship. It deepens the value. You're sharing the ideas, and that's when they start to be enrolled. It becomes their idea. They become part of your movement, and it's a very different come from. But basically, all marketing in done right is communication, proper communication. So when we think of like what I'm doing right now, this is marketing. I'm training, I'm developing content, I'm giving content away, I'm sharing content, I'm sharing my heart, I'm sharing value with you, and hopefully I'm doing a good job of communicating with it to y'all and give you the insights that are necessary so that you can continue to go back and forth with it, and I can continue to evolve it. But that's a form of marketing, because as we're going here, I start to have the ability to attract my tribe of folks, of following, and the people that are starting to come into the sphere, like, all of that resonate with what I'm doing. So that's a piece of the marketing. But it's also part right now, what I'm doing, the way that I'm using this particular piece of marketing and communications is inside also of a traffic strategy and or media strategy, because I'm using these live streams and these live events, being able to multi-stream, being able to syndicate it out across several channels live, and then replay them off of many different mediums live, and edit it and tighten it up, which is all an opportunity to both do additional marketing, but also additional outreach to people that allows myself and others to come into the orbit and have it make some sense for you, right? So, and you're also seeing a piece of the website plan or the online plan, because I have a number of technical things that I need to attach into here. So there's software and different online things, like I'm leveraging Facebook and YouTube, and I'm also recording locally here on my computer, and I'm using that technical stuff, and there's a whole bunch of other things that are involved in that, but it's all tied together into the entire global plan. So what I'm getting at is that no matter what you're looking to do, so remember that clarity and confidence comes from when you know in your heart you've got perfect certainty, like you've eliminated all the uncertainty, that you know, and I'm using the word know in a very specific way here, that you know that you have recognized again the truth, and that you know with that you've eliminated all the uncertainty. That's what knowing means in terms of the way that I'm choosing to use it, that you're doing what's right for you in this moment, and that you're on the right path. So the more that you now have that certainty, and the more that, which means that you have to have built up your clarity, and you've had to also added to your confidence breakthroughs, and that's allowing you to overcome inertia, because the natural byproduct, once you become excited and you know that you're on course, that you have zero doubt about where it is that you're going, now you're willing to get in the game and massage it and try things and see what's going to work, what's not going to work, but you get to learn and do simultaneously at the same time, instead of that linear learning that I discussed with y'all with Max the other day. When we went in depth there on the linear learning hoax and that trap that we can all fall into. So you're starting to see how this all falls into place. Now, what does this do for you? Well, in terms of continuing to fill up your confidence and continue to add to your clarity and continue to eliminate uncertainty, and so that you become more and more certain and have more and more confidence, that the more certain you become, the more confidence that you have. And then it's just a matter of, like, I don't know whether what I'm going to do actually works, but it doesn't matter or not, because I've got the confidence that says I'm going here. I don't know how I'm going to get there. And I don't know if what I'm doing right now to get there is actually going to take me closer or further away from it, but I'm going here, and I've got enough confidence to say that I can figure it out and I can tic-tac my way, because I'm clear on what my game plan is and what's right for me. I'm now living from my vision based upon what's going on right now. All right, so what that also allows you to do is to create the opportunity for you to then filter and create more and more clarity and more confidence by breaking down. Okay, so we've broken it down into the we sorted it into the 3 different types of business models in the online world. And you've picked the one that makes the most sense for you. And now you're going to be applying a specific plan or an idea that you've been working on. And I'm sure that you've had plenty of these different things that have been in various stages of completion, and that, you know, have taken you to a certain point or not, and then you've gotten distracted. So you can pick up any of those, and so now you've narrowed it down, and you're saying no to everything else but that, and you pick the one. Well, now, when it comes time to supporting it, you've got additional things that you've invested in gaining knowledge for, in creating new opportunities. Maybe you bought new different types of software programs, or you've invested in different type of landing page builders, or different type of article research vehicles and this and that, but you're not quite sure how to use them. Well, now that you know which business model that you're applying it to, now you can take and put all of those tools into each of the 3 categories of the core principles that it takes to build your business. And now you have a sorting mechanism. So how are we going to sort that out? Well, that's where this capitalize it phase of the process comes into. And you can kind of see here, I'm going to do a close-up on the iPad in a minute and break it down for you. But you can see here what is going on. And you can see by going vertically here, these are each of the 3 areas: the marketing, the web plans, and then the traffic plans that you can sort into. And then I've gotten, just to give you an idea, I've triggered some ideas down here that I'll go over with you guys so that you can see what fits where and how it kind of comes into play. And then this is the game plan that you'll be executing, and in each of the 3 primary areas based upon what you have selected, what makes sense for you. Okay, so now we're getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and then you'll see something over here when we get there, but it says, you can't really see it now, but I'll zoom in just for a second. It says 2 pocket equalizer, which is what we're going to get to in 2 or 3 sets of 2 or 3 weeks from now, when we get into the actual implementation and I believe I shared with you that the 15-week process that you can use to stay on track with all of this. But once you've got this core, this is how you're going to build out your game plan. And this is a game plan about execution. This is a game plan about implementation. So that's where we're heading. And now let's bop over to the iPad, and let's make that a go. So now this is the same thing that I was showing you. I'm going to zoom in at various points in time and just give you the quick breakdown. This isn't as complicated as it looks, and the reason why I have this all on one document, on one game plan, is so that you can have your master game plan to focus in on, to take you where you want to go in the right process, so that you can take it through that journey and have it make some sense for you, so that it works within your framework, and it keeps it clear in one space. And then what we're going to do in the next set of 3 workshop stacks that we go into in the series is, and I'll get into this as a teaser at the very end here, but we're going to get into the living it, which is the actual tools. I'm going to give you 3 specific tools to implement the game plan that we're developing right here, that you're developing based upon everything else. So, I kind of joke sometimes and say that this is what makes water wetter, if that makes sense. Because what's going on is that we've got this is a universal framework, and it's a true framework that you can apply to anything and give yourself a proven track to run on. So let's say that you've got some really great foundational courses and insights and programs that are fantastic, but you're not quite sure how to pull them all together and how to use this piece here and how to do this piece and how to make a unified approach to this. Well, that's exactly what I've been giving you in the past few weeks, and what we're going to continue to drill down on. And then, so that you have this framework that you can work from and literally apply it to anything that you need. And you can also start to see, based upon what you're looking to build and what your universe, like where you might be short, where you might be lacking specific things. All right, so let me remove this for a second here, and let's start just quickly digging into the specifics here. All right, so as we zoom in a bit here on this step of the game. So remember I said that, let's just zoom in right here, and so this is your marketing strategy, and this is your website strategy or web plan or online aspects of it, and then this is your traffic strategy. And then across here, up here, you have your inventory checklist, right? This is what you need for what? Well, what you need in this box goes for your marketing strategy, for your marketing game plan, for your communications game plan. And over here, well, this is what you need for, this is the inventory, the plan, the checklist of what you need for your website. And then, of course, the same thing down here with your traffic strategy. And this is the game plan that you're going to be talking about. What is your game plan? And you have, I'm assuming you have lots of things that you've been either considering or looking into or have already purchased, and you just don't know how to kind of organize them all. Well, so we look through things, and here's some ideas for you as it pertains to, let's say, your marketing strategy or your communication strategies of things that you might need or that you might have, or that given whatever you're looking to build out, you might need copywriting help, right? You might need to do content marketing. You might need to start thinking through the benefits and the offers and making some sort of proof and emotional appeals that are going to work, and the culturing strategies that you're going to do, and the urgency, like without making it perceived urgency, without making it bullshit. And like, you better answer now. I'm running out of electrons, and I'm not going to be able to keep you, when we know that that's all bullshit. But when there is some sort of legitimate urgency, like if you're doing a legitimate class and you can only work directly with so many people, or the class has a particular start date, then that has some urgency, because in the beginning, lots of people don't take action unless they have some sort of a deadline to work towards. We all seem to be nature of, deadline driven stuff. And so, we've got story ideas here. We've got reasons why. We've got, positioning, whether it's the launch and then ongoing business. And then we've got list building strategies, and we've got autoresponder strategies, and we've got the X factor strategies, which is from my NPOD training. So that's, but this is all about what we've been discussing in the bump strategies, the upsell strategies. What's your funnel look like? Are you doing webinars, and what are you going to teach them for value? How are you going to make an app? Who's doing what? What's your keywords? Are you doing SEO, articles, niche language, and a whole host of other things here, right? Because, this is just a full-on, there's just a ton of stuff here, and this is just examples of it, but you can start to sort it accordingly. And these are just ideas to give you an idea of what you might need to look for, and depending on what the plan is that you've chosen and what the opportunity is, then what is necessary for each of these, for the website, for the marketing, and for the traffic. And so you just start listing out, and this is just about brainstorming, right? Like, well, okay, so like for me, I need to start warming up my network, right? So I'd put that in there, and the strategy for doing that. Well, in my case, what I've decided to do is to do live streaming and those types of things. So you can get an idea of how it all comes to play. And then I recommend that you do all three of these in this category right here down, for all three of the fundamentals here first, because the temptation is to move directly in like we talked about in the personalize this step. The temptation is right here to move into what's the problem. Why can't I? Where am I stuck? How come I can't do that? And I want you to keep that for a later point in time. And so you make your list of your inventory, and this is just a game plan. So what's my game plan as it comes to my marketing strategy? What's my game plan as I see it right now based upon what I'm working for my website strategy? And just list them out. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Use a different sheet of paper if you need to, or whatever. But just come up with a strategy of for your marketing. And the same thing down here when it comes time for your web plan, and just list them out, and whatever it is, just list it out down here. And so that becomes the strategy based upon what you're working towards for that. And then your traffic strategy, same thing down here, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then we move on to the next one, where it comes to what's keeping you from executing, okay? And then what we do is we move back into, okay, all of these different things. Now, if there's an obstacle, we come over here, and for each one, we put down, well, what is it that's keeping me from executing? Well, like, I'm rusty at live streaming. For me, right? That might be one thing that in my mind is keeping me from executing, or the idea behind like, well, do I do it on YouTube, or do I do it on Facebook, or I'm confused, or whatever. I just start whatever I've come up with in terms of what my plan is. Then I come up with the corresponding ideas here for why I seem to be having problems, or what are some hidden gotchas that I might have to look out for, right? And then the same thing, we just keep on doing the same thing right here, and we go through the whole journey across the board here. And for the web plan, what's keeping me from executing as it relates to my web plan. What's the technical stuff? Where's the breakdowns? What are some things that I need to look out for? And so on. And then we do the same thing for the traffic. How are we going to get people introduced to this? How are we going to are we going to do affiliate-based marketing? Are we going to get endorsements from other people? Are we going to leverage relationships? Are we going to, do we have our own Facebook followings? Do we have lots of friends on Facebook that we could perhaps reach out to? Do we have groups that we're members of that might be interested in, what's our strategy for introducing our communication to other people? And so, let me just give you a prime example for me, right? So, traffic strategy. Well, that one of my strategies is that I'm doing the live streams, and I'm creating the opportunity for to get exposure. But Troy just came out and shared with me, this training in his group, and it's now going to out to his group as well as to other people. And so he's helping me spread the word, and in turn, I'm very grateful and thankful. So I'm spreading the word about what he's doing, and it's a symbiotic relationship, and we're both helping one another. But that's also a traffic strategy. So as I start to get honed in on my other two aspects, the marketing and the web plan stuff, now I'm going to reach out to Troy, and we're going to improve what we're doing so that we can benefit each other more and more, and have more traffic for him and more traffic for me. And it's a symbiotic way that I'm now putting my marketing and my web type content in front of other people that are excited for it, that want it, etc., etc., etc. And so, when we get into different ideas for what you might want to look into for traffic, there's keywords, SEO, competition, link bait, authority sites, SEO, viral buzz, videos, on and offline PR. There's a whole host, paid media, syndication, paid advertising. There's CPA networks, there's email solo buys, there's banner advertising, there's the GDN network, there's CPA, CPV, co-registration, TV, long form and short form TV spots, and with what YouTube's doing with their advertising and with their TV competition with cable, and the way that they're being able to target their TV spots now that go beyond just on YouTube into people that are using YouTube as a DVR service and as a cable service, because they now have all the local stations and everything. So there's endless opportunities, but that's another way to get your message out, to communicate your marketing, to communicate the value, the impact, what you're looking to do. And then where does it go? Well, how you're communicating it lends into both the marketing and the web plan, the strategy of how you're doing all that. So all of this can kind of inform the other, but start with something, and then we just continue moving through, and we have all of the check marks down here of what's keeping you from executing as it relates to the over here to the the web strategy, and the same thing, what's keeping you from executing, where you're running into bottlenecks or things that you need to think about that are potential things that you need to break through, is over here for the traffic as well. And then this is where things start to be really kind of cool, because now for each one of these obstacles, where in the past these obstacles were stopping you, that's where you stopped. Instead of where you got going, these obstacles are what stopped you, right? And so what happens when we start to think about what we want to do, we immediately go to why we can't have that based upon what's going on. So our Fred stories take over, and all of a sudden, here comes Fred, and we are there we are. And Fred is just staying there, and he's taking over, and he's making us look at that the reason why the circumstances that are going on, all this stuff over here, and all this stuff over here, these are all the reasons why we can't have what we want to have, right? And in the past, what's happened is that we get overwhelmed, we get confused, we get upset in all of these areas. But now that we have this structure, and now that we list out, first of all, when you just come up with a list of things that you think are standing in your way, and you list them all out, and you don't judge them, and but you give yourself permission to just write them all down, there's a certain amount of relief that's going to come immediately. You're going to get relief just from doing this, right? And the reason is that relief comes from doing that. The relief is going to come right away directly from just doing that. Because you're going to have relief when you start to see, when you're just trying to keep everything in your head and you're just trying to make sense of it all, it becomes overwhelming, and Fred takes over and makes things bigger than what it actually is, and all of a sudden we're like, holy shit, I can't do this. This is, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when you just go over here and you list out all the different things, all of a sudden you say, well, wait a minute. It really isn't as bad as I was making it out to be. And really, a lot of these things that I listed out is really just symptoms of the same basic issue. And you might narrow it down to 3 or 4 or 5 core things for each one of these, or maybe only 3, or maybe only 1 or 2, right? That you narrow it down to once you see that it's really all symptoms of the same thing. That is going to give you immediate relief, because when you have it for each of these 3 areas, when it comes time for when it comes time to look at it in terms of your web plan, your marketing plan, and of course your traffic plan down here, you get relief and you get peace of mind from each one of these. From each one of these starts to bring you relief, starts to bring you some peace of mind that makes it all easier, right? And so just doing that will give you relief and give you like the clarity, so that now you know exactly what to focus in on. And so this now becomes a inventory checklist, where over here we have an inventory for the plan, that what we need, and this is the checklist, and this is what's missing, right? Instead of it being an obstacle, now it's just what's missing. And when you start to look at it as what's missing, now you can come up with a strategy for a solution for what's missing here. And now in that game plan, now you come up with, once you narrow it down to the core, let's say 3 or 5 or whatever it is that it narrows it down to, that all the symptoms relate back to, now you have a strategy, right? And it's a strategy for overcoming a specific obstacle on your specific journey that you say you want to do. So now we are capitalizing we are leveraging our game plan that's personalized to us for our needs. And we're doing it in a web-based process that is now built on every step of the way, everything else that's going on, right? So this is where things get really exciting, because what you do is basically it's equal. It's equal. So this is a strategy for this, and this is a strategy for this. And does all of this mean that this is going to be, that it's all going to work? No, of course not. You don't know yet what's going to work or what's not, but because you're starting off with a game plan and you've got the framework that you're in charge of the framework and you're putting all that in there. So when you're now evaluating what you're missing and what you need for an inventory over on the game plan side and based on the obstacles, these obstacles now start to become the raw ingredients or the stepping stones to your success. And so what you end up being able to do is now this becomes another filter for how you look through the ebooks that you've purchased, the home study courses that you've been to, the membership programs that you're a part of, that you have access to. Now you can say, oh, wow, wait a minute, I've got access to contest domination. And I can use that, like I haven't thought about contest domination in years now, but that's the perfect strategy now that I can use. Now that's a strategy for overcoming both a marketing, a communication issue and a traffic issue, right? Oh, and by the way, contest domination in my game plan, by the way, has all three built in because they have a web-based aspect to it. They have marketing-based communication strategies and marketing channels to it, and they have the traffic because it's designed to be referral-based contests that help you get more people exposed by the people that are already interested in what you're doing. Now, I haven't thought about contest domination in quite some time, but that's an awesome service that I have access to that I purchased a long time ago that now is coming back to me that I can say, oh, this is a possible strategy for overcoming this. And I write it down. And I would write it down here, here, and here. And do you see how one solution that I already have that I hadn't been thinking about came to mind, but it also is a strategy for all three areas, depending on what my game plan is that I'm trying to execute, that I'm looking to put into action and hone and fine tune. Does that make sense? I hope so, because the opportunities are endless for what you can do with this standpoint. And it's not that complicated. It's not that hard, because it's simply about narrowing down what you're looking to do. And so that's the 3 steps or the 3 phases of implementing from the so that you can start to live the clarity breakthrough, the confidence breakthrough, and the inspired action breakthroughs as it relates to going through the building your own online business model according to your standards and ideals, because you've legitimized your game plan. You've then so that's the sifting out process. Then you're sorting it according to the personalized parts of the aspect of your game plan. And then you're taking it to the 3rd level today of the capitalize it, which is the game plan that's going to universally allow you to implement according to the core foundational things. Now you're saying, all right, well, that still gives me, this is the framework for you to begin to experience and live the opportunities of the 3 barriers and the 3 breakthroughs, and start living the opportunity of the Fred stories, and start to R&D them, to start to dissolve them, to recognize that they're actually going on, and so that you're living it and you're making it the unconscious conscious. And instead of what? Sorry about that. And instead of being at the whim of Fred, you're now recognizing that Fred is going on, and Fred is now there for you to be able to sustain the success that you're looking to have, and that you can get more and more acclimated to seeing that it is in fact the Fred stories that have been limiting you, and not the actual circumstances or conditions or people that have been going on around you, that you have choice on how you react to that. And so that you're what we're really doing is we're talking about the tale of two paths, and we're moving, instead of being reactionary, which is based on the Fred story controlling the story, and instead of choosing that collector's path where we're motivated action, and Fred pushes our button and bing, it triggers this attitude, this response, this action, and we feel like we're no longer in charge. Well, that's an automatic reaction. Well, we're moving to the next path, which is the ability to consciously respond versus react. And respond is the ability to take a conscious response to the stimuli. You know, when a particular stimulus happens in your environment, you have the opportunity to pause and choose what your response is if you're aware of your Fred stories, if you're aware of your choice in the matter, and the more that you will R&D your Fred stories, the more that you will have the ability to live that. So anyway, what we've been doing is we've been talking all about living the experience of, and putting into action experientially, the experiencing the confusion barrier, and then the clarity breakthrough, and then the inertia barrier, and then the confidence breakthrough, and the motivation barrier, and the inspired action breakthrough. But from a general standpoint, just from the emotions, from the stories. So remember way back to the first a few sessions that we had together, where we talked about, you can tell by what you're feeling, the emotions that are going on, where you are and what breakthrough you're coming up on, along with the barriers, because the Fred stories are going to trigger those particular type of emotions, and that you can elevate yourself and use that as the cue to then raise your level of awareness and take your power back, take control back over your life, TCB it, so that you're firmly in the driver's seat. Well, now we need a teaching model for the execution to be able to live the teaching model that we've been talking about in terms of building your online game plan. So now that we've talked about what that game plan is, now we need the ability for you to learn and do simultaneously, to reinforce all of this that we've done up to this point in a learn by doing, learn and doing way, where we can start to create that. So if we go back to the very beginning here, everything that we've been doing here, all of this, now that I can close this up, is from this document right here. And this I call, and you can read it, it's called the Discovery Experience. The 360-degree success solution discovery experience. Why is it the discovery experience? Because it's all about discovering the framework. It's about learning the framework, but it's also about experientially doing it, because it's an active approach. The game plan is designed to be inside the same thing. Well, now we need to move on to the living it part of the process, right? And I've subtitled this the where wooey wooey meets the real world, and this is this. I think you're really going to enjoy it, because this is about using the law of attraction, but actually implementing it, being abundant in nature. As many entrepreneurs and founders and small business owners and freelancers, and healers, we tend to be abundance minded. We tend to be prosperous minded, and also we become unaware sometimes of when we're living out of shortage, when we're living out of scarcity, and we don't live it, and we start to give lip service to things like the law of attraction and the power of that. And so this is the ability to apply a little bit of real world application, and I'm going to share with you some tools on how to do that. So this document, what I call the Living It document, are three specific tools and that we're going to be getting into, and a game plan. And this is where we're going to be going in depth next in the next series of three workshop stacks. And that's what we're going to be getting into, is to give you the resources, the tools to be able to implement your game plan, to be able to implement the multi-step approach, right? So that you can start to put into action and start getting the fine-tune, the tuning that you need, so that you can start to put specifically this part right here into action. And so there's a lot to this in terms of the tools involved. Now, each one of the tools can be explained in each one of the 3 sessions next week, and I think you're going to find it very valuable to you. And then this really is the ongoing tool, which is the Pocket Equalizer, that allows you to live these tools as you start to implement your custom game plan. So this is the strategy, the framework to make water wetter, to allow you to live life on your terms and to execute your game plan based upon what you're trying to create right now. And as as we talked about, success is never a straight line. It's never, like I'm here and then all of a sudden tomorrow I'm going to be a millionaire. If I've never become a millionaire before, if I've never had that kind of success before, then the reality is, no, it's gonna be a zigzag process. But if you have a framework, if you're confident about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and you have reduced the amount of uncertainty, and you have the right processes to continue, this is key, because you're not going to have perfect certainty. You're not going to have the perfect clarity from the get-go. It's going to be an ongoing process that will allow you to evolve and become more and more certain, and to become more and more confident as you become more and more certain. As you become more and more confident and certain, you have that knowledge that, I got this. I know it. It's not a matter of if I'm going to get there, but when. And you know what? When is just around the corner. So as that starts to happen, you have a zigzag process, but because of this framework that I'm giving you, you now have the ability to learn and do. You have the ability to learn by doing experientially, so that you can go beyond just the simple need of the moment and transactionally, and you now have a game plan that you can filter everything through, that gives you confidence. And as you're starting to come into many obstacles and many tic-tacs and many things that are happening on a weekly basis, but now you're using this to zigzag your way, and each one of those small little off tracknesses aren't taking you way off course and aren't overwhelming you and aren't bringing you back down into overwhelm, frustration, depression, anger, all of the feelings that you were dealing with. Now you've got a framework to be able to keep you on course, and more importantly, continue to develop your certainty and to develop your capabilities, your skills, the different things that you're looking to do as you're starting to see the different game planning, and as you're starting to execute the different pieces of it and improve on it piece by piece by piece. So next week begins that piece of the execution where I'm going to lay out the framework for you to be able to, the resources, the tools that you can use to start to understand how to live this on a regular basis, again, breaking it down into simple bite-sized chunks. And if you have been paying attention all the way through this journey, it has been built around you. I'm not telling you what your vision should be. I'm not telling you the right specific business model. I'm giving you the tools to be able to fish for yourself, rather than just showing you a temporary hack or something of that nature. So I hope you're excited. I hope you're starting to see the momentum build for the possibilities here. And I'll look forward to diving into this with you in the next 3 episodes that we start, the workshop episodes where we start to break all this down and I give you the framework to be able to implement it. And I can't wait to hear different feedback. Please share different pieces of, I mean, like, if this is valuable, well, then, give me some love. Give me some likes. If you want to help share the word and spread the word, well, then, give me some love, like if this is valuable, let me know so that I understand what it is that we're working with, so that, and I know also constructive criticism, what I can do better, because that's that's an important piece of the puzzle as well. And, basically just yes or no. Like, is this something that is resonating for you or not? And what parts are resonating, what isn't? Please enter it in the comments, whatever the channel is that you happen to be connected to me through. Please let this be the beginning of our conversations, of our communications. Let's continue to have some fun together and make some magic happen. All right? Thank you all.